Hi you guys, this is Irene, and I wanted to come back and just follow up my FBI crime stats video, and in a way my hashtag walkaway video. It's really interesting to me that people will watch one video of mine and assume a lot. I've been told that I'm an anarchist, I've been told that I'm a liberal, I've been told I'm a closet conservative. I've been told a lot of things, and it's really funny. I find that depending on what video of mine you watch and what stance I take, and my stances are based on facts, okay? Facts not from random websites and stuff like that, but government websites, and I provide all my information that people decide how they're going to feel. So, for example, on my hashtag walkaway video, I made like a 30-second, maybe 15-second, maybe 10-second, it was a really short comment on crime stats and how it surprised me that when I did the research, the 50% of crime committed by Blacks or Blacks committing the most violent crime stats turned out to not be true. And on that video, so many people glossed over the point of that video. And if you hear things, my children are on the ground floor because my daughter's making baking powder biscuits. So we have a tutorial for that for you women who might want it. But anyway, people glossed over the point of the video, which is that we need to not feed into these statistics and things like that given by the media and just take them as true, because it causes us to vilify communities. So the Blacks are vilifying the whites as racist. The whites are vilifying the Blacks as, you know, criminals and like extra violent, like more violent than normal. And all of this is set up for division's sake. And the purpose of division is because if we're divided, we can't focus on the real enemy, which is the wealthy, which are the wealthy, right? So I did my FBI crime stats video, but since so many people commented on that video and so many people were commenting on my hashtag walkaway video, like literally completely upset that I would dare deny that crime was a problem in the Black community, I decided to follow up with this video and just present the per capita numbers, because that's the argument I got a lot. Something else I want to point out is please check the description box below, because I actually don't approve of Black on Black crime. If you watch my Black on Black crime versus Black Lives Matter video, you will know how strongly I feel about not making excuses about crime in our community. And I do agree that it's a real problem. And if you look at my Chicago video, I actually suggest some really realistic, effectual ways to address crime in that community. And again, I don't make excuses. But one thing has nothing to do with the other. Passing around a false statistic that says that Blacks are more violent than other people when they're not, or commit more violent crimes than other people when they're not, is totally different from my outrage at crime in the Black community. Okay, so the two things are not related. And I feel like people are so caught up. I feel like I'm in a sea of people who've been watching TV and reading newspapers and been brainwashed that when I talk sensibly from all angles, so sometimes my angles are super on the conservative right side, and sometimes my arguments are more centered, or you know, wherever they are, then people get upset because they can't imagine that things could have shades, like that violence could be bad in the Black community, poor Black community, I should say, and that Black people aren't committing 50% of crime. Like they can't reconcile the two, even if you present them with facts. And I am very fact oriented. I do think there's a place for feelings. I think when you mix facts and feelings together, you get wisdom, okay? Knowing how to apply those facts and still being a human being. But I do think that facts need to be our foundation. And so if you don't like anything that I say, I don't even care, because you don't like facts. Just period. And the facts don't always dictate what you think they dictate. There are a lot of facts that are spewed by people that are considered authorities or fact-based speakers, especially on the right. And I have disproven a lot of their facts. 70 to 75% of Black homes aren't fatherless. It's actually 60%, okay? That's still not good, but the point is that the former was not a fact. So we still need to work on that issue, but we also need to make sure our facts are up to date and straight. Black people do commit 50% of murder. That's one type of violent crime, but there's also assault and rape and, you know, attacks on women and children, and all of these other things that the FBI considers violent crime. And so if we just want to talk about the murder rates, we're absolutely there at that 50%. Whites commit the other 50%. Do you know what I'm saying? But, you know, nobody wants to have those conversations. But I want to get into this per capita argument, because per capita is important. So let's go ahead and look at the numbers. I'm going to be making reference to my FBI video. And so if you haven't seen that, go and watch it. I'm just going to assume that you have. I will put the link in the description box below. The FBI arrest stats in my video are from the 2016 report, because 2017 wasn't out when I posted it. Okay? In that report, 69.6% of all individuals arrested were white. 26.9% were Black or African American. This includes Hispanics. That said, out of the 43,691,000 Blacks counted by the U.S. Census in 2016, the date of those crime stats, the year of those crime stats. So there were 43 million Blacks in the United States, and 2,263,112 of them were arrested. So out of 43 million Blacks, about 2 million were arrested. All right? 43 million Blacks. Okay. So we are talking about a small part of the population were arrested for crime. That is 5.2%, 5.26% of all the Black population. Okay. So 5% of the Black population was arrested in 2016, which are the latest crime stats that we have from the FBI as of today. However, the census does separate people who identify as mixed race, and the FBI does not. So I'm going to adjust those numbers, because there might have been slightly more Black people in the United States, people that the FBI would have counted as Black, the census allowed to separate themselves by race. Fortunately, the census does this wonderful thing for us where when people claim they're mixed race, they make them claim what race they are. Now, you know, race is a touchy thing with me, because there's only one race. We're all human beings. This is an old slavery rhetoric I wish we would get rid of, because it's very divisive. But I went through the census, and I'll attach the link below. I went through the census of people who claim to be mixed, and I pulled the ones of Black descent, okay? Because the FBI would have counted those individuals as Black, all right? And I adjusted the total number of Black population to include people that are mixed race. People like Barack Obama, for example, that everybody says is Black. People like him. And when it's adjusted, we go up from 43 million, essentially, Blacks in the United States to 44,731,748 million Blacks in the United States. So almost 45 million Black people, which brings our percentage of arrests down to 5.06, so still around 5% of the Black population. For whites, out of the 248,502,532 whites in the U.S., 5,858,330 were arrested, or about 2.36% of the white population. So we can see that crime is elevated in the Black community by about 2.7% over the white community, because 5.06% of Blacks were arrested, of the Black population was arrested, and 2.36% of the white population was arrested. So the variance in that is 2.7% difference, okay? And that's not statistically significant at all, just reality, okay? And again, all of my links are down below. So if you want to be mad at my facts, then you can go right to the FBI and Census websites and you can be mad at their facts. Now, I'm going to further adjust. I could stop there because that just pretty much ends the conversation. But I don't want to do that. I want to adjust further because I want to adjust for income, and I'm going to justify this with government resources, okay? Studies from the Bureau of Justice Statistics, which is a government agency, correlate poverty and crime. They actually state that poor blacks and whites are almost equally violent. I was pretty surprised by that fact. I'm sure a lot of you guys are too, but it is a fact, and the link is down below. I'm also adjusting for poverty based on HUD's, and HUD is another government agency, assessment that states crime affects the poor disproportionately. Okay, so when we talk about per capita and adjusting for proportion, then I'm justifying it because you guys are justifying the per capita argument. Okay, that essentially poor people disproportionately are affected by crime more, commit more crime, and also that there is a correlation between crime and poverty. All right, so those two statements by those public agencies that also crunch the numbers, just like I am, cause me to also justify my stats for that reason. And like I said, you don't have to follow me down this path. You can stop right at 2.7% difference, and I'm totally fine with that. But I'm going to travel down this path, okay? Like I said, you can hear my babies. All right. Now, I also want to point out that most Black crime is committed in poor Black communities. Upper and middle class Black communities have very low crime rates, as do the privileged communities of most phenotypes. This is just poverty and crime are kind of bedfellows, at least here in the United States, all right? I am keeping my stats adjusted for the FBI's counting of race. So as I do these new stats, I am doing that adjustment so that we're counting race the way FBI counts race and not the way the Census Bureau counts race, because they do count it differently. So 23.6% of the Black population was in poverty, or 10,450,157 persons. Okay, and that's a huge percentage. That is it's over a fourth of the Black population. All right, over a fourth of the Black population lives in poverty. For whites, it was 17,494,800 persons, or 7.4% of the population. So 36% of the Black population is in poverty. Whites, only 7.4% of the population is in poverty. And we're crunching these numbers because of the per capita argument. Arrest rates, when they're adjusted for poverty, compare this way. 33.49% of crime is committed by poor whites, and 21.66% is committed by poor Blacks. All right? And that is the percentage of the population, okay? That data is on par with the government's conclusion, and it's contrary to the common rhetoric that we are hearing. I'm going to provide all the links to my government resources. This is a really short video, I know. What I have to say is this. I think people misinterpret why I do stats like this. I do them because there is division here, and we should not be divided over false statistics. If you feel biased toward the Black community, if you honestly feel that Black people are more violent, you know, if you're walking through life and you just assume every time somebody has a Black face that they're part of a group that's just crazily violent, when 5% of Blacks are going to jail, 5%, that means that most of the Black people you meet are just regular citizens. All right? And there's only 2.7% more Black people being arrested than there are whites. So this idea that we're just crazily more violent is wrong. Now, does this excuse areas like Chicago where the crime rates are really high? No, it does not. But it also doesn't disregard areas like DeSoto, Texas, that are predominantly Black and affluent, and the crime is very low. All right? Both things can be true. Both things can be true. No more than Chicago illustrates an example of the entire Black community does DeSoto, Texas, with affluent, rich Black people represent the entirety of the Black community. And these generalizations must stop. On all sides. On every single side. We have to be rooted in facts, even if those facts don't lead where we want them to lead. Even if those facts are contrary to what is being presented on the news. Now, like I said, before you guys all get up in arms and, oh, this sounds like victim this and victim that and get emotional, you can watch my video on Black Lives Matter. You can watch my video on Chicago, and you will see that I do not excuse this behavior, nor do I make excuses for it. In fact, I do quite the contrary. But every topic has to be taken individually and has to be factually based. And it's not about you liking it. It's not about, oh, my beliefs, I believed. It's not about that. It's about reality. So we're going to live in reality together or we're not. But my ultimate goal is not about our phenotypes. My ultimate goal is to show you people that we are being divided. There is a war on, and it is not based on the color of our skin. There is a battle to maintain power and monetary control by a minority over the majority. And we can't lose focus. We can't get caught up in this. I hate to even waste this much time. I'm only bothering with this because you guys want to make it an issue. And I'm saying let's move past this issue and understand that yes, crime needs to be addressed in the Black community. But you saying Blacks are more violent than whites is like me saying all whites are alcoholics. All whites are on methamphetamine and opioids. I can pull whole states of white people where it's predominantly white, where people are whacked out on drugs and committing all kinds of crime that, you know, that people aren't counting because it's not the crime of their choice to count. But I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to generalize. What was it? I'm not going to generalize 43 million people for the minority. I'm not going to get caught up in that issue and lose focus on the real goal. The Bible says a house divided cannot stand. They're trying to divide us. We can't let it happen. We need to address the issues that need to be addressed. But we need to not be each other's enemy in the throes of that. It's really important. I can't express it enough. If you want to argue with the facts, links are in the box. Argue away. Otherwise, let's do this. Let's start a conversation and let's get control of our country. Thank you guys for your time.